Mr. Frost, why do people overeat and get addicted to sugar food?
Very good question. Um, that's one of the things clients most often say to me is that I have a sugar addiction. I can't stop eating sugar. Doesn't matter in which form. Now, it's a little bit more complicated, but I'll try to explain it in a very simple way. When we're babies, at a very young age, the most basic need for a baby to survive is food. And if in any way emotional needs are not met, like feeling safe and feeling loved, those needs will be met. Emotional needs will be met then with most basic need, food. It's a way the subconscious mind substitutes emotional needs for physical need, and it gets confused or it gets wired wrongly. So what happens later in life now, if in any way in relationship, friendship, marriage, your emotional needs are not met and you feel in any way unsafe or unloved in that moment, or not heard or not seen, the mind will do exactly the same the way you survived as a child when those needs were not met, and give you a deep longing or desire for food. And so the cycle goes. And it's a never-ending cycle till those original traumas are cleared or integrated. So people often ask me, why can't I just go for exercise or play the piano or do any other positive thing instead of going for food when I feel not loved or feel I'm not heard, I feel abandoned? Well, it's not like there were a piano every time you were a baby, or you could just say to your mom, I'm going running, and you're still 6 months old. That was the only way when you were young, was the easiest thing to actually help you cope was food. Either you yourself later or parents fed you whenever you felt maybe unloved or unsafe, and often also forced to eat. A third need often there is boundaries. When a child's boundaries are not met, either too strong boundaries or too little boundaries, babies often can't say no. They can't say, I had enough. And often parents don't know when a child has enough, and also when they're really hungry. I'll come back to that later. So in short, no, it's not that simple that you can just do a different behavior, because those things were not there. You were just a baby or you're just very young. You couldn't just leave the house and go and run 10 kilometers. So that's in short the answer. When we are babies, our parents often give us food when our emotional needs are not met. Like if we don't feel safe and we don't feel loved, often it's just give the child a bottle or give the child something sugary. And often if babies are given very sugary foods, it's an overstimulation of that child's nervous system. And that overstimulation creates havoc inside that child's nervous system. And that means as a child grows up then, whenever there's an emotional lack, the nervous system will go with the first stimulant which was paired with the original trauma. Now it can be big traumas, like overt traumas, youth fighting and all sort of sexual traumas, or it can also be just very covert traumas, often where there's just abandonment or in a very subtle way. It doesn't really matter. It's still the subconscious mind is trying to fulfill those original needs now, over and over and over again. Now the basic emotions often which sits at the base of food addictions are usually feeling unloved, rejected, abandoned. And the second one, most common one, is feeling not good enough, deep shame, feeling not worthy, feeling guilt, feeling like a disappointment. And any of these main two, the unconscious mind will then go and solve it for you constantly. And as I said in my first video, it's because in some way those echoes from the past echo now every single time, anywhere, in a friendship, relationship, any little bit of that emotion you feel, the subconscious mind go back and find the original trauma, amplify that small trigger now, and give you the same soothing it has learned at a very young age. Now, this is a very simple explanation. There's a lot of other stuff going with that. But in a way, then the original trauma is recreated. So you keep eating, you feel more alone, keep eating, feel more shame, keep eating, and so the cycle goes. And the longer it goes, often the harder it is to break, because then there's often a feeling of hopelessness. The person feels more not worthy, more ashamed. And that's why these cycles are often quite hard to break. And when I work with these things, we want to again satisfy the original needs where those needs were not met. So some inner child work, and we have more than one inner child at the different ages, but the subconscious mind is very, very intelligent. You just have to have a critical amount of inner child work, and often then it will tip the other way. You don't have to, it doesn't take 40 years to reprogram a childhood. And a subconscious mind is immensely resourceful. It can do it much quicker than we think, as long as you work with the inner parts, which has split off, as I mentioned in my first video, where the needs were not met, and it's still trying to fulfill unfulfilled needs, because the subconscious mind doesn't know what's happening now in your work or relationship is sort of separate. It links it back to the original events. So when we do trauma therapy or hypnosis for these, when we fulfill the original needs, subconscious mind won't go back, because there is nothing to go back to. And you can take the present context or the present triggers just for the present. It won't be amplified with all the backlog or all those unconscious files from the past, as we say, the old maps. They are not there anymore. And you can just react from the present. And that's what most people want. They don't want to have that personal response, because as long as there's a personal, intense response, the subconscious will go and satisfy you with fulfilling that need, food, and then all the other addictions. So that's a very simple explanation. I can maybe just mention with one client I worked with, was quite interesting. She was just never full, always hungry. And in regression, she regressed to the source where this actually started. And as a baby, often mother just forgot to feed her. Mother was possibly not well educated babies, and feeding times. Babies need to be fed very, very regularly, every so many hours. And her mother often just forgot to feed her. And she was hungry very often, and she could feel the hunger, the original hunger. So all we did in hypnosis was go and feed and fulfill the actual hunger of that young baby. And after 2 or 3 sessions, her eating completely changed. It was a deep, deep childhood hunger for food, because she was actually really hungry. It was a very interesting case I worked with. And well, there's many others, as I said. If you're interested in your own behaviors and wonder why you do things you can't stop, or like interested in any more of these explanations and exploring yourself, your own awareness, you can go to my website. My website address is ernestfrostnlp.com.au, and see what's on offer. I offer short courses and workshops for different topics, and in these workshops you get to practice some techniques and get to do your own breakthroughs and learn little techniques or even big techniques to help you every day overcoming your stuff. Thank you.